Most people believe power belongs to the loudest voice, yet history quietly rewards the person who knows when not to speak. What if every unnecessary word has been draining your influence without you noticing? Today you will discover why Machiavelli viewed silence not as weakness, but as a strategic weapon that shapes perception, protects intention, and quietly guides outcomes. Beneath everyday conversations lies a hidden psychological battlefield where restraint often defeats brilliance. As we uncover these forgotten lessons, you may recognize patterns that have been controlling your relationships, career, and ambitions for years. Before we begin, comment the words "silent power" if you are ready to master this overlooked advantage. Then subscribe, like this video, and stay until the very end, because the final insight reveals a truth about human nature that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Few are willing to embrace it, yet those who do, rarely. To understand why silence has always belonged to the powerful, you must step into the turbulent world of Renaissance Italy, where Niccolò Machiavelli observed politics at its most ruthless. Kingdoms rose and collapsed through deception, shifting alliances, and carefully guarded intentions rather than public declarations. While many remember him only as a champion of manipulation, his deeper lesson was psychological. He understood that people rarely judge reality itself. They judge appearances, confidence, timing, and emotional control. Silence became one of the most effective ways to shape all four. Long before modern psychology described cognitive biases, projection, or emotional contagion, Machiavelli recognized that people eagerly fill empty spaces with their own assumptions. Throughout history, this insight has been misunderstood because society celebrates constant expression while quietly rewarding disciplined restraint. Today, in an age of endless posts, instant reactions, and relentless oversharing, his forgotten wisdom has become more valuable than ever, offering a timeless path toward influence, clarity, and genuine self-mastery. Now we leave history behind and enter the hidden mechanics of strategic silence. Each weapon reveals how disciplined restraint reshapes perception, redirects emotion, and quietly transfers power toward you. Master these lessons patiently, because every conversation becomes a battlefield where fewer words often create greater influence than endless explanations ever. Silence protects intention before action. The moment you announce every goal, you surrender psychological territory. People compare, criticize, imitate, or quietly prepare resistance. Machiavelli understood that visible ambition attracts invisible opposition. By revealing less, you force others to operate without reliable information. Their imagination begins working against them. Some underestimate you, others overestimate your capabilities. Both reactions create strategic uncertainty. Think about successful negotiations, business launches, or personal transformations. The strongest position usually belongs to the person whose next move remains unknown. This does not require deception. It requires disciplined timing. Speak after results appear, not before they exist. When your actions finally emerge, they carry undeniable credibility instead of fragile promises. Every secret preserved becomes accumulated leverage. Every unnecessary disclosure reduces options. Guard your intentions until reality speaks louder than your words. Quiet confidence invites respect, while premature certainty invites interference. Let outcomes introduce you before explanations ever can. The second weapon is emotional restraint during confrontation. Most people believe immediate responses demonstrate strength, yet impulsive reactions expose vulnerabilities. When someone provokes you, they often seek information about your fears, insecurities, priorities, or limits. Silence interrupts that search. A calm pause forces the other person to confront uncertainty instead of feeding emotional momentum. Modern psychology calls this disrupting reinforcement. Without predictable reactions, manipulative behavior loses effectiveness. Imagine a difficult workplace meeting where accusations suddenly appear. Defending yourself instantly may satisfy emotion, but waiting, observing, and answering deliberately changes the balance completely. Your composure becomes evidence of confidence before your arguments even begin. The quiet individual appears centered, while emotional opponents reveal themselves through excess. Every controlled pause communicates internal authority. Learn to separate feeling from response. The space between stimulus and action is where genuine influence quietly grows. Patience ultimately transforms pressure into advantage without sacrificing dignity, clarity, self-control. Silence also sharpens observation. Every conversation contains hidden information beyond spoken language. Facial expressions, changing tones, hesitant wording, repeated themes, and nervous gestures reveal motivations more accurately than confident speeches. People disclose themselves naturally whenever they believe someone else is listening, without interruption. Unfortunately, most conversations become competitions instead of investigations. Everyone prepares replies while missing valuable signals. Machiavelli understood that knowledge collected patiently outweighs opinions expressed quickly. The individual who observes carefully identifies alliances, rivalries, ambitions, fears, and opportunities long before others recognize them. Behavioral scientists describe this as reducing cognitive noise. Fewer internal distractions create greater awareness of external reality. Practice entering conversations with curiosity instead of performance. Ask thoughtful questions, then remain genuinely silent. Resist filling uncomfortable pauses. Many revealing statements appear only after several unexpected seconds of quiet. Observation transforms silence from passive absence into active intelligence gathering, strengthening every future decision. Others reveal everything themselves. Another weapon is refusing unnecessary validation. Many people speak excessively because they crave approval more than understanding. They explain every decision, defend every preference, and justify every boundary, hoping acceptance will follow. Ironically, constant justification often weakens credibility because it signals hidden doubt. Confident individuals rarely rush to persuade everyone. They understand that disagreement is inevitable. Silence communicates security far more effectively than endless explanations. Consider respected leaders who answer criticism briefly before returning attention toward meaningful work. Their restraint keeps conversations focused on results instead of endless debates. Psychology recognizes that people often value what appears emotionally independent. Desperately seeking agreement creates the opposite impression. Free yourself from the exhausting habit of convincing every audience. Some misunderstandings deserve clarification, but many deserve nothing at all. Every explanation should serve purpose, not insecurity. The less your identity depends upon approval, the greater your invisible authority becomes. Protect your inner certainty. The fifth weapon is strategic ambiguity. You do not need to reveal every opinion, preference, or long-term intention simply because someone asks. Questions are not always requests for understanding. Sometimes they are attempts to map your decisions before they unfold. By answering selectively, you preserve flexibility while encouraging others to expose their assumptions. This principle appears throughout diplomacy, competitive business, and even everyday relationships. Skilled negotiators rarely place every card on the table immediately because certainty removes leverage. Ambiguity, used ethically, creates space for observation, adaptation, and wiser choices. It prevents premature commitments driven by social pressure. Silence allows possibilities to remain alive until the proper moment arrives. Remember that mystery naturally attracts attention, while complete transparency often invites complacency. Speak with purpose, reveal with intention, and never confuse accessibility with total exposure. Strategic ambiguity protects freedom, strengthens influence, and quietly expands every meaningful opportunity until timing makes commitment necessary. Now we move beyond visible tactics into the invisible mechanisms that quietly govern influence. Here, silence becomes perception, expectation, uncertainty, and psychological gravity. These deeper dynamics reveal why restrained minds consistently outmaneuver reactive personalities. Follow carefully, because each mechanism reshapes how people interpret your presence, choices, intentions, and lasting authority. The first invisible mechanism is projection. Whenever you remain deliberately silent, people begin filling the empty space with their own beliefs, fears, expectations, and desires. Instead of discovering your intentions, they unknowingly reveal themselves. Someone insecure assumes you are judging them. Someone ambitious imagines hidden competition. Someone trustworthy expects patience. Your silence functions like a psychological mirror, reflecting the observer rather than yourself. Modern research on projection explains this tendency. yet Machiavelli recognized its practical value centuries earlier. Never rush to correct every assumption. Observe which stories others invent about you. Those stories expose motivations more accurately than direct questions. By resisting unnecessary clarification, you gather intelligence while preserving strategic flexibility. The greatest advantage comes from understanding what others cannot hide from themselves. Their imagination becomes your quiet informant, offering insights without interrogation. Patient restraint transforms uncertainty into knowledge, knowledge into leverage, and leverage into lasting influence before anyone notices. The second invisible mechanism is cognitive imbalance. Most people crave certainty, especially during important interactions. When immediate answers never arrive, their minds work harder, searching for patterns, explanations, and hidden meanings. This mental effort quietly transfers attention toward you. Instead of chasing others, they begin chasing understanding. Behavioral psychology shows unresolved uncertainty remains memorable far longer than predictable conclusions. Strategic silence, therefore, increases psychological presence without demanding constant visibility. Think about influential leaders who answer difficult questions carefully, revealing only what serves their objectives. Their restraint encourages continuous interpretation, extending influence beyond the conversation itself. However, this mechanism requires discipline. Silence must remain calm, intentional, and respectful, never childish or manipulative. Used wisely, uncertainty inspires thoughtful engagement. Used carelessly, it breeds unnecessary distrust. Learn the difference. Leave enough unanswered to encourage reflection, yet enough expressed to establish integrity. Balanced mystery commands attention because certainty rarely does inside their minds afterward. The third invisible mechanism is emotional asymmetry. During conflict, whoever regulates emotions first quietly controls the interaction. Anger, defensiveness, and desperation reveal priorities that observant opponents immediately exploit. Silence interrupts this exposure by slowing emotional momentum before it becomes damaging behavior. Neuroscience demonstrates that strong emotional reactions temporarily reduce deliberate reasoning, making impulsive decisions increasingly likely. A composed pause restores perspective while denying others predictable leverage. Imagine receiving unfair criticism before colleagues. An immediate defense may satisfy pride, yet measured silence creates curiosity instead. Observers begin evaluating the accuser alongside the accusation. Emotional restraint therefore shifts attention away from your reaction toward everyone else's behavior. This reversal often changes outcomes before arguments even begin. Mastering emotional asymmetry means protecting your internal balance regardless of external pressure. Calmness becomes invisible armor, preserving judgment while encouraging opponents to exhaust themselves through unnecessary emotional exposure first, without surrendering your inner center ever again. The fourth invisible mechanism is selective absence. Constant availability reduces perceived value because familiarity gradually weakens attention. People often appreciate what cannot always be accessed immediately. Strategic silence applies this principle beyond conversations into presence itself. You need not disappear dramatically. Instead, avoid becoming predictably accessible every moment. Focus deeply, answer deliberately, and allow natural intervals before responding whenever urgency does not truly exist. This rhythm communicates independence rather than indifference. Social psychology recognizes scarcity as increasing perceived importance, yet emotional maturity determines ethical application. The goal is never manipulation through neglect. The goal is preventing your attention from becoming ordinary. When every response arrives instantly, others unconsciously expect unlimited access. When thoughtful timing replaces automatic availability, interactions regain significance. Your presence feels intentional instead of habitual. Respect grows naturally because disciplined boundaries demonstrate that your time, attention, and energy possess genuine value worth protecting every single day without apology. The fifth invisible mechanism is narrative control. Every social environment continuously creates stories explaining people's motives, competence, and character. Excessive speaking often surrenders authorship because unnecessary details provide endless material for misunderstanding. Strategic silence limits distortion by allowing consistent actions to define reputation instead. People eventually trust repeated behavior more than persuasive explanations. Machiavelli understood appearances shaped political survival, yet lasting appearances depended upon disciplined consistency rather than endless self-promotion. Modern leadership research reaches similar conclusions. Credibility expands whenever words and actions remain perfectly aligned. Before speaking, ask whether your statement strengthens your long-term narrative or merely satisfies temporary emotion. Every sentence either reinforces identity or weakens it. Protect your reputation by speaking with deliberate precision. Let silence remove distractions, while meaningful actions compose the story others remember long after conversations have completely faded away. Quiet consistency eventually defeats clever performances because reality always exposes pretenders over sufficient time alone. Mastery begins where knowledge becomes disciplined behavior. These strategic disciplines transform silence from an occasional tactic into a permanent advantage. Practice them consistently until restraint becomes instinct rather than effort. Power rarely appears through dramatic moments. Instead, it grows quietly, through repeated decisions that reshape your character, judgment, influence, and destiny. The first strategic discipline is delaying your response with deliberate intention. Every meaningful conversation offers a hidden choice between reacting automatically and responding consciously. Train yourself to pause before speaking, even if only for several calm breaths. This simple habit interrupts emotional impulses while strengthening rational judgment. During those brief moments, ask whether your words will clarify, strengthen, or merely satisfy temporary emotion. Most unnecessary conflict begins because people mistake speed for confidence. Real authority remains comfortable with thoughtful silence. Practice this discipline during meetings, disagreements, negotiations, and personal relationships. Notice how often others continue talking simply because you refuse to interrupt. Their additional words frequently reveal concerns, contradictions, or valuable information. Over time, your deliberate pauses become associated with composure rather than hesitation. Others begin expecting thoughtful answers instead of impulsive reactions. Consistent restraint gradually reshapes your reputation into someone whose words always carry weight because they never waste them. The second strategic discipline is speaking only with clear purpose. Before every important statement, identify exactly what outcome you want your words to create. Are you informing, persuading, questioning, protecting, or inspiring? Without purpose, conversation becomes verbal clutter that weakens credibility. Machiavelli recognized that every public statement changes perception, whether intentionally or accidentally. Develop the habit of removing unnecessary explanations, repetitive details, and emotional justifications. Replace quantity with precision. Imagine every sentence carrying a measurable cost. When words become valuable resources instead of unlimited supplies, your communication naturally gains greater impact. This discipline also strengthens listening because your attention shifts toward understanding rather than performing. Friends, colleagues, and competitors eventually recognize that when you choose to speak, something meaningful usually follows. Purposeful communication creates expectation, while constant talking creates fatigue. Protect the value of your voice by ensuring every important statement serves a deliberate objective instead of satisfying temporary comfort or habitual conversation alone. The third strategic discipline is practicing intentional observation every single day. Enter conversations with the primary goal of discovering rather than impressing. Focus on patterns instead of isolated comments. Notice who interrupts frequently, who avoids difficult questions, who changes behavior around authority, and who consistently supports others without recognition. These observations reveal character more reliably than polished speeches. Keep a private journal documenting recurring behaviors instead of isolated impressions. Over weeks and months, hidden patterns become unmistakable. This exercise sharpens intuition because your conclusions emerge from accumulated evidence rather than emotional assumptions. Behavioral scientists often describe expertise as recognizing meaningful patterns invisible to beginners. Strategic observation develops exactly that advantage. Resist judging people after one interaction. Instead, collect quiet evidence patiently. You will gradually distinguish temporary emotion from lasting character, confidence from performance, and loyalty from convenience. Such understanding improves decisions about friendships, partnerships, negotiations, leadership, and conflict, while reducing costly mistakes caused by first impressions or persuasive personalities alone. The fourth strategic discipline is protecting your intentions until action becomes unavoidable. Modern culture encourages announcing goals immediately, celebrating future achievements before genuine progress exists. Resist that temptation. Every public declaration invites opinions, expectations, comparisons, and unnecessary attention. Instead, allow consistent effort to remain private while results develop naturally. This discipline protects motivation because your satisfaction comes from meaningful progress rather than external validation. Psychological research suggests that premature recognition sometimes reduces commitment by creating an illusion of accomplishment before genuine achievement occurs. Quiet execution avoids this trap. Build habits silently, improve steadily, and reveal success only after reality confirms your efforts. Those around you will experience surprise instead of skepticism. Unexpected achievement commands greater respect than repeated promises. Remember that silence is not secrecy motivated by fear. It is disciplined focus protected from distraction. Preserve your energy for execution, allowing completed actions to become your strongest introduction wherever opportunity eventually appears, before any explanation becomes necessary. The fifth strategic discipline is embracing silence during moments of discomfort instead of escaping through unnecessary speech. Awkward pauses, criticism, uncertainty, and disagreement often trigger an instinctive desire to fill empty space with explanations. Train yourself to remain composed instead. Discomfort frequently reveals hidden opportunities unavailable to restless minds. During negotiations, silence encourages better offers. During disagreements, silence exposes emotional motivations. During personal reflection, silence uncovers beliefs usually buried beneath constant distraction. Begin practicing by extending uncomfortable pauses a few moments longer than feels natural. Observe how quickly others attempt to relieve the tension themselves. Their responses often provide valuable information without additional effort from you. Over time, discomfort loses its power because you no longer fear temporary uncertainty. Calm endurance becomes a competitive advantage in every important relationship and decision. The individual who remains steady, while others rush toward relief quietly, acquires greater clarity, stronger influence, and lasting inner command over every situation encountered. If you have followed these lessons, you now understand that silence is not emptiness, but deliberate power. Machiavelli's greatest insight was that influence rarely belongs to those who speak the most, but to those who control themselves first. Every pause, every restrained response, and every carefully chosen word shapes perception before action ever begins. Your greatest advantage will never come from dominating conversations, but from mastering your own mind. Practice these strategic disciplines daily, and watch your confidence, judgment, relationships, and influence quietly transform. If this video challenged your perspective, subscribe to Hidden Oasis for more timeless wisdom, like this video, and share your thoughts below. Comment silent power if you are committed to leading with calm strength instead of constant noise. Until next time, remain patient, remain observant, remain intentional, and remember that the quietest presence in the room often commands respect, because true power never needs applause.